Hello, my name is Erik Witkop, and today we're going to talk about zero trust. First off, this is a marketing-free zone. This is a FUD-free zone. We're just going to talk about technology. When you think about Palo Alto Networks and the technologies that it has to offer, you think about things like SSL decryption, user ID, device ID, all these new tuples that you can leverage in a firewall construct, right? So when you think of zero trust, think of break and inspect, but also think about like who is the user. IP addresses are meaningless. We need user ID and we need context. It's about visibility and context. That's what zero trust is. Here's the lab topology. Very simple. Essentially, we have a testing firewall on the left. That's going to be the one that we're going to look at for, SSL decryption, dynamic user groups, threat analysis, things like that. And I'm going to be looking from a perspective of a Win7 victim. He's going to go out to some bad sites, and we're going to find out what happens. Let's take a look from the user perspective. We already said user ID is very important. So let's first go to some website, and you can see I'm being challenged now to provide some kind of credentials. In this case, it happens to be Active Directory on-prem. But there's a lot of different ways for a Palo Alto firewall to get the user to IP mapping. This is one of many, okay? This demo as well, because you can see what's happening, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put in my creds. 10 points if you get the reference to Jay Miller in terms of cybersecurity. Okay, now I'm at CNN.com, and now the firewall knows that I am Jay Miller. So let's go take a look at our firewall real quick, okay? Go to our monitor tab. Now notice I have Jay Miller peppered all over my logs now. Anytime that we see 4564, it's now paired with a source user of Jay Miller. Not just for CNN.com, for all context of what this source IP is doing, and for the age of this IP to username mapping, it will be able to show what this particular user is doing on the network. Back to the user experience. Let me make this bigger. Let's take a look at SSL. Now notice what's happening. So we did a full break and inspect on the firewall, and we have issued, the firewall itself is a CA server, a certificate authority. It's cutting fake certificates to the client side from a CA called DoD fake. And so it's important that my client trusts this new CA called DoD fake. Otherwise, you're going to get an error in your browser. And so we've already taken care of that provisioning. It's pretty simple. But what's happening is the firewall is cutting certificates on behalf of CNN's website under the CA umbrella of DoD fake, which I trust. So now we're able to do full break and inspect on any of these SSL sessions or TLS sessions, and we get full visibility into the data streams going through them. All right. Now we're going to go to a malicious website. We're going to go to a malicious website. And what's going to happen here is that my firewall is going to tag source IPs and make my source IP a member of a dynamic user group. It's going to take that Jay Miller and it's going to tag it with a string of suspicious. I'm going to have a rule in my firewall that says if you're tagged with suspicious, then deny the traffic, right? So we're going to go ahead and click on this, and it's telling me that I've been blocked. It's printing out my username. It's printing out the URL and category that I went to. It's declaring that my username's been quarantined, and it's got a phone number that I can call to help get me out of this sticky situation, right? And at this point, you can see my traffic is now being blocked. I am locked out of the network, right? So let's review. I've done SSL decryption to get you visibility. I did a captive portal or some type of method of IP to user mapping to give you context of Jay Miller and what he does on the network. I showed you the adaptive nature of the firewall that is allowing the blocking of a username in what's called a dynamic user group, right? because I said this is going to be technical, I'm going to show you how this all works. So this rule is doing a lot of the magic for the Doug piece of it, right? So let's kind of walk through pretty quickly. Source, destination, application. What's interesting here is that I'm saying if you hit this rule, notice I'm matching on command and control, and that's exactly the bad site that I went to, right? I'm doing a log forwarding rule, which is essentially tagging, and then I have a dynamic user group. Where is it? It takes me a second. Sorry. Dynamic user group that is set up to match on this suspicious string that I talked about. And let's see who the members are. Of course, Jay Miller's in there, right? Because I hit that rule. Now, above that rule, I have a rule that says if you're a member of this infected group, why don't I show you? If you're a member of this infected group, deny. Right? So when you think about zero trust, I want you to think about context and visibility. Thank you. Have a good day.